Welcome everyone. This is the Training in AutoML Working Community call on 15th of October. As always, we're going to record this call and going to publish on YouTube, and we follow the CNCF Code of Conduct. Welcome everyone. So do we have any here, like new people who just want to introduce themselves, just want to say hello before we get started? Feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself and say hello. Otherwise, I will just share my screen and we'll go through agenda items. Right, so I think like there are a couple of topics we want to talk about today, especially for the release. So I think as we discussed last couple of weeks ago, we want to release 2.1 RC0 sometime this week. I just want to go through the agenda items to see if there are any pending items we need to cover, or we kind of like ready to make a release. I have a few things from my side, but before we get started, anything from from your side that we should be working on before the release? I kind of like I know we have few pending PRs that we need to have an honor and kind of like get some help to finalize them. So the first one is this one for for MPI resources. Yeah, before I jump to this, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear it.
So I want to check about API version updating.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, we discussed about when we should upgrade API version from B1 Alpha 1 to B1 Beta 1. And so I want to decide whether or not we should upgrade the API version in this B2.1 version or not.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, any kind of suggestions from your side? When do you think we should make this upgrade?
Um, so if if we do not have any plan to break additional existing APIs, I think we should promote this API version to beta version as fast um, as much as possible in the next B2.1 version. So this is not a strong opinion. So if anyone want to keep B1 Alpha 1 version, yeah, it's open discussion. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know we kind of like break one of the APIs in the next release, which is pod spec override or pod template overrides. Kind of like my expectation that at least, like we should see that this API working fine for KQ integration. So like we don't see any additional problems because like as far as if I understand correctly, like and we have this managed by question for template overrides. And I just want to understand if there will be any additional breaking changes to this API before we, like officially release this API. And other things like, um, I don't know. So you get just one question. So if we decide to, like to go to the V1 beta, like, do you prefer to go to V1 beta 1 or V1 alpha 2 API from your perspective?
I want to go to better version
Mm-hmm.
directory because if we keep Alpha API version, we can break existing API anytime. And so, but for end users, breaking API um, bring um, very big pain points. I want to upgrade to better version so that end users can avoid any disruptions.
Yep. And do you think it is better for us in beta version not to break an API? Because in beta one, we kind of like, agree to maintain them forever, right? Unless we.
Not
Mhm.
forever. In
Okay.
Kubernetes API policy, beta API version indicates um, even um, I mean beta API version indicates um, when we break any kind of fields or API resources, um, we always provide conversion webhook during 2 or 3 minor release cycles. Um,
Mhm.
so this does not indicate providing better API forever.
Yep. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, again, like I think from my perspective, maybe in V2, like 2.2, maybe we can, have a better API version because we kind of like almost close to the release. I don't want to, spend a lot of time for us to have a new API. But I'm open to discussion because I guess like I don't know about the like the adoption of train job. I know that few users are already starting to adopting this, especially after integration with KQ, and I know a few customers who are actually running this not like in production, but they kind of like evaluating this as part of their for migration from the PyTorch jobs and other like training operator jobs. But I kind of like want those users to speak up as well. Um, yeah, so because like again like we need to really understand if this API is kind of sufficient enough to cover the majority of use cases we're talking to, right? Because the spot spec overrides problem we identify just just after we start integration with KQ. Um, so I'm curious if there will be any other additional API changes we should make, um, especially the breaking changes. Um, I don't know what
Yeah.
others any maybe recommendations suggestions like on the API versions.
So
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Anton.
you want to go, Yuki, first?
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, so basically, I agree with Andre, because KQ currently does not support topology scheduling only in Torrent job. So after we start supporting topology scheduling for Torrent job, we may want to break any API in Torrent job side. Yeah, so maybe we can wait for additional one minor release um, before we upgrade API version to beta. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just some input on our side. So we've started integrating and using the train job API. So ideally, with the way our cycles go, it would be good that we would graduate the train job API in the medium term. So I think that's good that the proposal to have the graduation to at least beta level for 2.2 sounds reasonable according to our own timeline. Um, and that would mean that like for the next release, what do? We keep V1 alpha 1 or we still do V1 alpha 2?
Yeah, I don't think we need to be one alpha two. I think we
Yeah.
can directly go
Oh.
to beta. Because I think we can break the alpha one API.
Yeah, so we've broken the alpha, we've broken the current API, but for alpha level, that's fine as far as I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay that we keep the current version.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And do we want to also gradate the training runtime and train job API together?
Yeah, yeah, that would probably make sense. And the same that for us, it would be good that at some point they graduate to beta.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that can be. Yeah, we've kept talking about train job, but you're right. It's for the training runtime and cluster training runtime API as well. So let's say yeah, in 2.2, would be good that we graduate them to beta, all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I think it should be fine. Like I kind of like expect more users adopting this and see, tell us about the problems and if there are any kind of additional changes we should make, especially, like on this the train job, initializer API and I guess like, the pod simulator overrides, etc. Um, Yeah, but I agree, like, we kind of like need to have a process like in the timeline for users when we do this upgrade. Um, Anything else here, like Yuki from your side? Um,
Yeah, everything clear for me. And so basically, I agree with Anthony and Andre about API updating. So one question for Anthony. So do you have any expected timeline in your product? So for the API upgrading? So I mean, uh, so at least when do you want to upgrade API version to beta? Next half year or 1 year later or something?
I would say like next year, that would rather be for ideally for graduating to stable, according to our some sort of cadence. But I mean, it's not hard rules in any way. So I would say beta for, if I understand, so the 2.2, that would be this year, right? Something like that. I don't know, like,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
or it can be early next year. So that would be good too, that on our side, the, um, the API graduate to beta. Now, let's say, like, for example, middle 2026, ideally, according to our practices, if that could go to stable level. But I mean, that really depends. There is no pressure, no hard rules once again. But we have the concept of general availability in our product, and generally when we say, hey, Kubeflow Trainer is generally available, generally that's better that the API is v1 stable. But I mean, it's really the ideal case. And that would be like in May next year, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
yeah, welcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also kind of like expect again more people speak up, especially on the adoption side, the people who will migrate from PyTorch job. I think like if I remember correctly, we announced that the PyTorch job support will end in the mid 2026. So
Yeah,
we
that
kind of
would be good.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Because like I think we announced it back in April. So in April, so maybe it's a good thing for us once we deprecate PyTorch jobs and TF jobs, we're gonna have V1 for train job.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that may be a good point.
Yeah, you're right. It's a very good point.
Do we have this actual information on the website that once when we deprecate the PyTorch job support? Um,
Yeah, that could be made maybe more explicit. I don't think it's been defined as precisely as we
mhm.
are.
Yeah, maybe we should add a statement here that hey, like the PyTorch job support
Mm,
will
mm.
end in like May 2026, and please migrate to the train job. Yeah, because right now we don't have any the deadline here. Mm.
Yeah. We can at least say that it'll be deprecated once the train job or the trainer v2 API gets promoted to stable. Unless, I mean, we can already commit to some more precise date, but if you if that's a concern.
Hmm. Yeah, I think like having the timeline for customers, maybe it's a good idea to add this in a website.
Yeah,
Similar to like what KFP is doing in other
makes
projects,
sense.
right?
Yeah.
So, and we should definitely announce it more regularly because I believe there are still many people using Python jobs, and like I don't know how many of them actually aware of the projects we're working on. So definitely let's continue this promotion. So let's add the timeline to the website and let's stick to this timeline at least for now, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, the point you're making, I think, yeah, is important, like the communication aspect. So
Mm.
maybe also communicate on the mailing list, maybe and be as transparent as possible, so people do not have any surprise or any
Yep.
concern. early.
I saw some question in the chat. You mean, do you want to ask something, or you just want to? I'll ask about our Slack channel. Yeah, just for everyone else, like we do have our Slack channel in the CNCF website, sorry, CNCF Slack. So the Slack channel is Kubeflow Trainer for Trainer and the Kubeflow Katib. Right now we have these two channels. So if you have any additional questions or comments, please feel free to join those CNCF Slack channels. All right. Yeah, so anything else for the release? I really want like to maybe tackle this, so this feature in the 2.1. So the problem is right now there is no way for users to specify resources per node for API-based runtimes. And I know there is a pending PR for this feature here. I'm not sure about the if a contributor can finish it before our release. So do we have anyone here on the call who just maybe want to, take this over and finalize this PR? So at least, we have a stable support for MPI based jobs like deep speed and MLX.
I can take it, or I've already tried to take it. I think the PR in the contributor there, it's more on our side, like to provide like reviews or like the approval. It's in a pretty good shape, I would say. It's more like, I don't know, agreeing on. It's a bit convoluted, to be honest.
Yeah.
That logic, even I struggled a bit. Like, I mean, to be transparent, I've had the proper moment to properly, but I wasn't sure I would myself make a strong opinion on whether that was the good. I was trying to really understand or have a good understanding of. So I don't know. I mean, I guess for 2.1, it's in good shape, to be honest, and maybe we can revisit.
Yeah, I don't think it's a breaking change if we
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah,
resources
absolutely.
per node to
Yeah.
the plugin. I think the major point was, those resources should be they part of API plugin or we should use in a builder. Yeah, because
Maybe
it's
the
really.
comment I made about Q, yeah, I remember it was less.
Mm,
It's more that we start like somewhat like changing the compute requirement shape and
mhm.
somewhat dynamically, like as we in the plugin. And
Yeah.
I don't know how it impacts Q, because Q has to know the final compute resources. And I need to I'll try to give it a bit more cycles, but anywhere probably it's good to go as is. There might be some improvement, but
Okay.
it,
I kind of like curious. So for Q, like for KQ running with these API train jobs, it looks like so the entire train job and the launcher and node should be considered as a workload,
yes,
which means like, yeah, resources should be kind of like equally split, right, between all those.
yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. And at the moment, Q it reads the info from the runtime info, the
Okay.
to do the logic of admission,
Hmm.
and that is after it, like after as far as I know, building the runtime info. So it's like there are gonna be some slight mismatch between what Q think the workload use as resources, and yeah,
Hmm.
I don't want to take too much time on that. I'll try to give a bit of more cycles. We can, I think, get it merged and maybe do some follow up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yuki, from your perspective, like the info object, should we kind of introduce some sort of resource property there for the entire workload? Because for API, right, like the workload is split between launcher and node, but the resources is kind of, should be for the entire job, correct? Yeah, that makes sense.
So as far as I know, so runtime info resources field has pot group pot set name field, right?
Yeah, but set, yep.
Yeah. So my question is, why 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 do you split
Yeah,
more
so
and more?
I think the problem that if you remember, like previously we introduced this ancestor label, which kind of allow us to say like to which part of the job set should we propagate spec from train job to the job set. And the problem is like for API, we should only propagate resources to the workers, but not other part of the spec like command, image, etc. And it's kind of a mismatch because the ancestor label is only exist on the launcher. However, like we should propagate resources from the train job to the workers as well. Does make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's correct. So the problem is, so how to deliver a train job resource per node to every underlying job set replicas, right?
And maybe
Because the
yeah,
currently, yeah,
yeah, good.
because the currently, so ancestor trainer label uh, is added only to Rancher replica, right?
Yeah, and also like not the entire resources, but only the resources. Sorry, container resources, because image and command should not be propagated to the worker API workers. Because
Yes,
command, yeah,
that's right. Because Rancher and worker start
yeah.
another command. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's tricky, right? Because like then we should have a mechanism to propagate just part of the trainer from the train job to the API runtime. So, um, yeah, I think it's,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. In that
Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, in that case, we may want to add strategy to resource per node. So which ancestor should get resource per node override field. So I mean,
Mm.
so if strategy if train job rebel resource per node strategy is everything, train job resource per node propagates to every replica container resources, branch and node and everyone. Or we may want to add another level abstractions separate from ancestor. So for example, role or something. So I mean, so this is another option. Um, for example, we can add target replica or target role to resource per node field. So after that, we can add branch and node to target replica. After that, trainer controller propagates resource per node to branch and node replica or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, we may want to consider another mechanism. Yeah.
I kind of like remember we discussed it before that, we're not sure that ancestor is the right approach for long term because another idea was, I think, introduce something to the class runtime spec to tell that, which relationship between train job and the template we would have. But we never got a chance to think about API design for this. Instead of using labels just directly, defining this here, for example, to say trainer goes to this type of replicated job, dataset initializer goes to this replicated job, etc. But I'm not sure if this is the ideal approach. Um, yeah, because I guess right now we should probably read this run launcher as node, and if this is true, we should kind of propagate resources per node to every replicated job. The node replicated job and the launcher replicated job. Yeah, but do we think we can talk about it, in the future, like in the next releases? And right now, just, check this flag, and if this is true, propagate resources per node to the both replicas. How do we think we should do it?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think, yeah, ideally we want to
Yeah.
add any mechanism. However, I think we do not have enough time to consider the additional mechanism for that.
Yeah, and then go ahead. You want to say something?
No, yeah. So what you're describing is, I think, how the PR does it at the moment. It reads the field, and but it does it in the plugin, which makes it so that it's not reflected into the runtime info. And also, yeah, I mean, I think part of my brain can, when that ancestor label, it makes it very difficult to understand. I mean, it makes it, how could I say, like it really makes the implementation very convoluted with like lots of if statement, if and yeah, it smells basically like so. I would tend to think that the proposal that you've made, like to revisit it and maybe, as you describe it, find another mechanism for binding things to the different replica job would probably be a good idea. Now, yeah, in for the release, if you think that what the PR solved in the short term has enough value, and anyway, the ancestor label is already there, so
Okay.
to me, I think it's fine. We can merge it, have it merge, but keep in mind that ideally we would revisit that ancestor label mechanism.
Let's could you do us a favor and just create the issue to track it if you don't mind? Yeah, so definitely let's revisit in the future after 2.1. And let's see, I think we should also keep in mind that, it could be not job set based runtimes like the Flux as we discussed last time. So yeah, I think we should design a mechanism which could be like abstracted in the template we allow people to run within the train job. So let's definitely revisit in the future. So makes sense. Anything else for the release? I know there is a work going on for the data cache, and this is still in progress. I think the majority of PR has been merged. So this one we discussed. The JAX runtime, like I don't think Magdi right now on the call or Xiao. Yeah, I don't see them here. I would love to understand whether JAX will be part of 2.1, or we kind of like, needs to put this to the 2.2. Yeah, this is still work in progress, and I ask Marty to just at least give us a timeline when this will be complete. So for Volcano, I think this is finished. The only thing we need to do, like to update the documentation. I think this is also done. Anything else for the 2.1 which is pending? Yeah, class runtime deprecation process. This is also a simple one. We just need for someone who just finalize, maybe take over this PR and just, push this to upstream. It's almost been complete. Okay, anything else for the release before we jump to the next topics? All right, sounds great. So then again, couple of things to talk about. So I think we're also planning to release, the SDK 0.2 relatively soon. I think like one topic, we don't need to talk about it today. Maybe we can talk about next time, but I can see Sad on the call. Maybe you can also give your perspective. But I kind of like started thread a couple of days ago regarding to a few questions in terms of which trainers, like how we should allow users to run images within the custom trainers. And one of the kind of good points Antonin made around if we introduce image parameter to the custom trainer, that will make it consistent between multiple backends, which we're planning to support, like local subprocess, container, and Kubernetes backend. So one of the question like I kind of like received from users, local subprocess is the kind of, I would say, different backend compared to container and Kubernetes.
बोल ना
Yeah.
हाँ करून देना चहा देना
Aniket, there was
हाँ
something?
चपाती
Like,
दोन यांचं कर
yeah, real quick.
Aniket, I think you might want to go on mute.
Yeah, let me just for now, yeah, mute him. So anyway, feel free to unmute yourself, Aniket, if you have any question. Yeah, so just my question is, how do we envision those trainers will be supported across multiple backends? Because as of now, I guess like this is tricky to introduce image parameter to the custom trainer because image is not, you know, really applicable for local sub process. And I would love to understand, like, you know, from your perspective, if that makes sense, or, you know, we should kind of introduce new custom trainer or container as I try to propose, or you have any ideas, you know, how do you view this for long term? Maybe Sato, Antonio, if you have any, you know, comments on this, would love to hear them.
Yeah, no, I think the what you were proposing, Andre, like have a dedicated type, like you mentioned custom container trainer, or I'm not sure what was the name, but we could subclass well, inherit the custom trainer and extend it for specific more specialized and add the image parameter there, like and actually whatever parameter makes sense is relevant for that subtype of trainer.
Mhm.
To me, that sounds like so. The only thing is that from the end user, they wouldn't have like that. They would have to think about picking the right class, but I don't know. Like it feels like, for example, the image is a fairly advanced use case as far as I can tell. Like it's so they would know what they do, and I mean that then goes back to the topic of having a good documentation and maybe a good website for the um, the Kubeflow SDK. But yeah, that's my opinion at the moment.
Yeah, kind of like what I hear from users. Sometimes images could be pre-prepared for scientists, and you know they can just reevaluate them for their specific purposes. Maybe, you know, new data has been, you know, prepared, or they just want to run the same image that other, you know, like members within the team has been created for them, or maybe they have already automated process to help customers to build these images. And you know, like what they do, they just, you know, change the code, run the script, and they, yeah, like similar to what I propose in the threads, right? Like we want to have a mechanism
Mm.
to automate image build
Yeah,
users.
and yeah, yeah. No, I'm pausing there just to enter that correlated topic you've mentioned, like the automating the build of custom images, which somewhat relates to the point you made about snapshotting working directory
Yep.
and packaging it as a OCI container image. That
Yep.
that that seems related to me because that would always happen. I guess the question is in the use case you mentioned, like for adding that image parameter, where would the build happen of that custom image?
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yes, I'd go ahead. Yep. Is that doing something or?
Oh, sorry. I was just like talking to myself on mute. I thought I'm muted. Sorry about this. So like what we're talking about like is a container and a Docker and Podman implementation trainer, right? The trainer of
Yeah, what I want to say, I would love to understand for local sub process, do we need to have another trainer, like, you know, specifically to local sub process, or we will continue to use this custom trainer?
So I was thinking about something actually for the custom trainer and how we provide our training code to like the backend trainer. The backend trainer has a plugin mechanism, right? For MPI, for Torch, for PyTorch, for DeepSpeed, like for few of them, right? And it processes like based on the user request, based on the train job type. If you're using framework PyTorch, then it tries to inject some PyTorch arguments. So I was just thinking if we have a way to implement such a pluggable mechanism in the SDK as well. So when the user is saying, I want to use a PyTorch, PyTorch, runtime, which is a framework, it also could pass like some additional parameters that could be friendly with the PyTorch, and we'll be implementing these parameters in the SDK at the front end, at the SDK level. So when you pass a PyTorch job or a PyTorch train job, you could explicitly define the PyTorch arguments that you want to use, unless except the ones that we calculate in the backend, like rendezvous and other stuff that we inject with environment variables in the backend. That's one thing. On the other thing is for the Docker Podman, it could be handy for people who don't like to install stuff directly on their machine for any purpose, for hardware mismatch, or if they could just test stuff on a distributed fashion with Docker, if they have GPUs and they would like to test that, that could be convenient for them too. And the proposal was to use existing runtime definitions, which is already available in the repo as YAML files, and allow people to just use these definitions to structure the same thing with the Docker and Podman implementation locally on the user machine. It just enables people to use this, test the actual image. If you want to use a runtime image, it makes it easier for people as well. If they want to test the runtime image before they ship it, or they test it on Kubernetes environment and so on. So I see a potential use here, but that's my own opinion anyway.
I think introducing framework-specific trainers would be useful in the future. Like if we kind of want to inject the application code.
Yeah.
For example, like the PyTorch, we know like which steps might be required for users to do before, PyTorch, if they run PyTorch script, like they need to initialize dataset, they need to initialize model. We will know like which PyTorch API, similar to how like, Ray is doing. The problem, like the differences would be like, so within Ray, like when you, kind of getting data from Ray data, right? And you kind of, instead of using PyTorch distribute what is it? Distributed sampler, you're basically getting data from Ray workers.
Yeah.
We don't have such functionality as of today, and users kind of like responsible to, like write the entire application code. And you like write the how they want to distribute the data, whether they want to, plug in FSDP, etc. And we kind of like fully operate on the orchestration layer. We kind of like need to understand like introducing the framework specific trainers, what benefits it will give to users, right? Like what part of PyTorch script, the deep speed script they want to skip. So we can do this on our like, SDK side before we converting this to the train job, correct? Like to the job on the Kubernetes cluster. I would see this kind of separate to like what we're talking about in terms of, like,
Yes.
like,
Yeah, we can talk about this one in more details and have a dedicated discussion for this one. But just on it really quickly, it's not necessarily changing the custom trainer and how it works. You can freely operate with a custom trainer, but there could be like other trainers, which is like framework specific trainers, if you know what I mean. And then you leave the custom trainer with the existing behavior, and we use other framework specific trainers. Anyways, going back to the image thing, is our problem with the Docker and Podman is that we need to build a custom image, because we can replicate exactly if we use a custom trainer with Podman and Docker locally, we can just have like the first step, that's the same command, same entry point would still work.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And for Docker and Podman, like, do you still use the custom trainer here? You do, right?
Yeah. I think if we have you on the call, yes, we do the custom trainer and the train function to implement the whole thing, and we construct an entry point which exact same one like Kubeflow. Sorry, like Kubeflow trainer in the backend, and we use this. So they should be this. We create a network for isolation. We add labels that might be on the framework. We try to replicate the whole thing on a Docker and Podman setup locally, pretty much.
My only question that in that case, do you want to introduce? So there are two options. So the first option is introduce custom trainer container, like another class, where we allow users to specify image instead of function, and in the future we can extend it to allow to maybe them to build the image from their workspace. So this is option one. Option two is to introduce trainer specifically for local sub-process and introduce image inside custom trainer. And don't use this custom trainer in the local sub-process, because local sub-process does not support images. So which options do we prefer? Like, I think...
Okay. I know what you mean. Like, I think if we build that custom image with the user code in place, that might give us the workspace directly that would like to ship and upload to the training environment. So there is a few wins that we can get. But also, if we introduce an image in the custom trainer, the sub-process trainer could simply just ignore this parameter and try to construct everything with a virtual environment, because it knows like, okay, I don't rely on images. I'm gonna skip the build part and just like gonna copy the whole thing and take it and fly. If we add an image parameter, a custom image parameter to the custom trainer, or an image parameter to the custom trainer, are we going to ask the user to build the image and give them image URI so we can use it, OCI image so we can use it directly, or are we going to build the image?
Yeah, not initially, right? Like, and the problem is like if we introduce the image to the custom trainer, we need to like make sure users, use one of them, right? Like whether use function or image, or they use function and image together. Like, so the building part could be in the future, could be added in the future, correct? So
yes, I think it would be cleaner though if we just have like a sort of a base trainer and fork of it different types of trainers, like image-based trainer or OCI-based trainer or custom trainer, which is like you freely define your whatever you want.
yeah.
And the other one, you just provide the image. Where is your entry point? Okay, sit back, job done. And this way we could have also like sub-process trainer or whatever, and then with all these trainers the user pick whatever trainers that suits him and work with it. The drawback is like the user needs to know about all these trainers and how to use each and every one of them, because it will be different parameters in initially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kind of like, hesitate also to introduce a lot of parameters to the single trainer, because user needs to understand, like, for example, like they need to make sure, like they want to make it, some of those parameters might be mutually exclusive. Some of those, parameters must be set. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want to mention the same topic again that I mentioned on the HPO one or Katib,
Yep.
which is if we have, I don't know if there's ML or data science friendly, if we have a builder pattern, and the builder pattern based on the user parameters, it customizes what exactly needs to be done, and in the end will give you a trainer that you can just pass through the train function, will submit it for you, and you're sorted. But if we want to keep the way the stuff that things the way we do it right now, my proposal would be like different trainer with different parameters based on your use case. You use this one, and the default trainer would be like the one that ships with code to Kubeflow trainer backend.
Yeah, I think I mean I'm fine to break it in the future. I mean, I kind of like maybe we should introduce something and see how it goes, and if this custom training
I would recommend that one. I think like
cool.
When was this opened? Like, not to be a dead horse. I know I've shared this feedback before, but if we just look at time it was open versus like time we spent discussing it, I think we can just test it out, see what people say, and then change it. That's kind of a nice way of alpha as a label, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think I asked this question. I think, I mean, we definitely should be okay to break an API in the future. I mean, at least like in our 0.x releases and see how it goes, because we're just exploring. And, but I think all these great ideas in the future, will end up with a good experience. But that makes sense. So, in that case, let me propose this as a new class, called custom trainer container, and then we can see, how we can extend it or modify this in the future to, see how we can, like support other type of trainers.
Yeah, if I propose something really, really quick, and I hope you guys don't hate me for it. If we have the custom trainers, we just add a function to it. If we make it as a Pydantic models, that will be much easier because we can get validation for free. So we don't have to validate stuff. That would be number one. Number two is we introduce an interface to our trainers, like get entry point or get X or get Y. Then it's up to the trainer to sort it out internally what needs to be done, and it retrieves parameters, so it makes our life easier to construct the train job. Then with the options, we override these kind of parameters. that's the only thing. Right now, it will be like the build of the entry point, the build of the train job will be responsibility of the trainer to kind of set some values. Then we get this, overwrite it with options that we added, and then it's just a bit of, it looks cleaner in my mind. But
Yeah, one of the feedback on options I kind of receive from customers that options might be useful when they cross components, when they're not related to trainer or not related to initializer, right? Or like kind of more power user specific, right? Like pod spec overrides, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I kind of like hesitate if, you know, scientists will really understand options, but in the builder part, I think it's interesting. I think we should definitely like explore how the builder could be used. It's similar to how I kind of like we propose this experience on the train job template layer, like how they can do optimization and training in a single template. And this is maybe I want to like last 5 minutes quickly speak about it, maybe give you a short kind of idea like what I'm talking about in the HPO side. Yeah, but builder I think makes definitely sense. I agree, like in terms of maybe having this as two options. All right, let me maybe quickly, Ian. I know we've been working this PR to introduce this HPO support to Kubeflow SDK, and I think I already kind of have an initial implementation for this optimize API. So it looks actually relatively, you know, simple and interesting, and maybe I can even show you how it works. So again, the experience looks like this. The user just defined the training function. And like initially, I support the pool-based metrics collector, which means the user has to print the metrics they want to collect, and they define a simple optimize function where they say, specify the train job template and the search space they want to, to want to explore. Like it could be lock uniform, it could be choice, it also could be uniform, and that's it. Nothing else they need to configure. And if they run, like I have exactly the same script running here in my, test job, and also like they can specify multiple objectives. So they can, specify, like whether they want to collect other metrics. Unfortunately, Katib doesn't support multi-objective optimization, but the good thing is like we can, at least allow users to collect multiple metrics from their training function. And, like single API, train job template, search space, objective. And if they just, run it, let's try to see if it's going to work. So it actually, yeah, I need to probably refresh some of these things. So basically, it should create the Katip experiment for us, and it should. Let me try to see if it's. Yeah, I might need to fix some of the imports. But basically, this function will create the experiment, which looks like something like this, and it has all the parameters here. So it has the objective, it has the parameters that user can specify, the trial template with the train job here, and everything will be handled for the user. So then you do anything anything on top. One of the good thing in terms of this experience that like the optimization and training looks relatively clear, because we can introduce the train and optimize API for train job template class. I think we have some of those examples in the cap that we can show quickly. Let me see. So I think it's the proposal. I think it's in a Google Doc. So the idea is to have a single template where users specify trainer, like initializer, if they want runtime, and if they run a single API. So basically, they can run this. They can use this template to do training, to create the train job, and then they use exactly the same template to perform optimization. So they pass the same template. They maybe want to, configure how many trials they want to run, the search space, etc. But they can just, do optimization with this template. So I think experience looks very, very clean. And like I think like they don't really require a lot of changes for the user to do. Because like what I kind of receive from them, like the hyper optimization is usually like the last step they do before they put models to production. It's kind of like when they prepare the entire script and when they just want to maybe tune some of those parameters just before they put models to production. So the feedback I got, they don't really want to change the training script at all. They want to just use exactly the same template for training and exactly the same template for optimization, which is actually what we try to do here. Anyway, any questions for this proposal? Like, I think this is still work in progress. I kind of like looking for the, for the review, but does it look good? Yeah, go to you.
So let me quickly ask some question. So basically, so I did not check this enhancement proposal. But so I want to ask about the current SDK optimizer API supports neural architecture search, or this supports only hyperparameter tuning?
Yeah, we will only support HPO and we will only support train job as a trials. So no other support will be introduced, at least for now.
Oh, I see. So for
سعد بعد اذنك الفريمز انا حطها في الاير فراير بتستوي
We can hear
بديها
you.
يعني بالهمس كده عشان تستوي من جميع الجهات
Sad.
بصي على بوتاجاز على
Sorry, guys. I didn't know I'm unmuted. Sorry.
No worries. Go, you can.
yeah. So I want to just say so not supporting NAS at least for now, right? So in the so in the
Like,
future you want to support network neural network architecture search, right?
so yeah, for neural architecture search, like kind of like I didn't really see a lot of adoption, I would say, from users. Like maybe some of them using this as part of Katip, but I don't really see a lot of kind of feedback that, hey, we need NAS in production and we do a lot of architecture search, especially right now because we live in a world of, like post-training. Not many people really exploring architecture from the beginning. So not initially, I would say. Um, but eventually those algorithms, like we can adopt them to support more advanced architecture search algorithms. Because like the architecture search is kind of similar to HPO, I would say, but instead of like exploring the parameters, we're exploring the kind of architecture for neural network, which means like your architecture of neural network could be part of your hyperparameters. There are slightly different, like I would say algorithms and workflows, but this is not something we want to support initially. Initially, we want to give us a very simple experience of training and tuning in a single SDK without really, like a lot of complexity, which we give them here in this experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I just want to check, or I actually concerned about after we support the neural architecture search, we may conflict a Python SDK API name between hyperparameter tuning and NAS, because this current Python function is called optimize. So this API name does not have what is objective for optimize. Yeah, for sure. So currently this supports only hyperparameter. So objective is explicitly only parameter. But after we support neural architecture search, what happened? Yeah, this
Yeah, I
is
kind of like
just my concern.
yeah, sure. I think eventually, so we kind of like propose in this proposal. Okay, I don't know if you've been following, but we kind of like want to create a new CRD called optimization job, and this CRD is specifically for hyperparameter optimization, not for NAS. And if customers need it, if you find contributors, they probably will create a new kind of type of CRD, which will have its own spec and etc. But we don't really speak about NAS here. We want to have a very robust support for HPO and see, like how it goes in the future. And
Sorry, so I may confuse something. So do you focus only on Python SDK, or
yeah.
do you want to?
So this is what we discussed. Sorry, no, like, this is what we discussed last time. So we gonna like initially we're going to provide the support on SDK, but we will use the kind of legacy Katip experiment API. But eventually we want to also create a new API in the future once we have some time on the Katip as well, or maybe even like renaming the project or something else. But this is not in scope in the first release. So the first release is introduced this new SDK API called optimizer client.optimize. And this will actually behind the scenes create experiment, Katip experiment, to perform hyperparameter optimization. But eventually we want to migrate to optimization. We want to create this new workload called optimization job.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, so ideally we should decouple neural search and hyperparameter tuning as we discussed 2 years or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, sounds good.
That's right. And also like I kind of like I think like one of the requests I really want to have like I know so if you're a user and you're using Quick in production, please reach out to us as soon as you can because we identify a few kind of no goals for us. And I kind of like want to reiterate is like, support of arbitrary CRD, like non-train job specific support for like resume policy, support for NAS, support for, additional metrics collection. It's kind of like which is not objective metrics and maybe support for pool-based metrics, but this is like under discussion. So there are kind of like a couple of no goals we kind of identify for us. We don't want to support in the V2 or like maybe V1 for KTIP or how we're going to call it. And if you're a user of KTIP, experiment today, and if you need these features, please reach out to us as soon as you can so we can, talk to you like how you use this, etc. Yeah, because we kind of like in the future, if we want to move to the new workload, we need to kind of have very clear, goals and features this workload should support.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Any other questions for this? I probably will give a demo once it is ready, sometime maybe next week in this ML experience call. But let's definitely follow up on this so we can include this in the next 0.2 release. All right. Any other questions? Sounds great. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Great chat. So let's definitely follow up. And for the release, let me know if you need any help or any other additional feedback on the 2.1 of the trainer. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.